All right, we're going to call our meeting to order. We're a little bit late at 7:03. Apologize for that. We've got a quorum here. We'll approve the adoption of the meeting agenda.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. We do not have our previous meeting minutes. I have to confess that is my fault. Had forgotten that David was not here at our last meeting, and he reminded me of that today. So we will cover that at our next meeting. So the next item on the agenda is public input. Anything from the public that we can, anybody? All right. Committee and authority members reports. Just passed around, I know Ed's not here. Next item would be our treasurer's report. Stacy brought our financials from the month of August. I'll give you a minute to review those. We can even circle back, and I know we've been making a transition with the county CFO and all, and we can circle back and with Stacy's help too, and try to answer any questions we have as well. So we'll just make a note that we gave a review of those here at the meeting. All right, airport managers report.
Hi, this is my first one, so bear with me. We did get the wheels in for hangars. We're replacing all the wheels on A and B. Maybe I mean, the board's helping us with it too. We started today, and we're gonna slowly but surely get that finished. So that's really exciting news. Stacy and I are developing a tie-down lease for the upcoming year. Because our tie-down spots are now very limited, we're down to 2 transit spots, and the rest of our tie-down spots are all taken at this point. So we'll also develop a waiting list for anybody else who wants to go on that. We're also going to submit the budget. We're shooting for May 4th for the 2nd annual Military Appreciation Day. I got the Pentagon approval letter to work on getting military aircraft. So we will start working on that and getting all of our vendors out. Hopefully it's a big success. And then we did see a little bit of a decline in the fuel sales in July. The fires killed us out of Canada. I mean, we were IFR most of the month. So, I mean, I suppose I could tell you it was rough out there. So we did see an increase in August. We actually sold double in August 2023 of 100 low lead than we did in August 2022. So we are seeing an increase there. And then we have the Blackhawks in. We had 4 of them in yesterday. That was really exciting. They want to continue to come in. They want to continue to hot fuel. And David and I talked about having the public notified as long as it's okay with them, so that we can get the families out there too and just really bring them into how great the airport's doing. But we're doing big things.
You know, Alexis, I thought that even if they don't want you to put out that they're coming in, you could wait till they hit the ground and hit something. And there's a lot of people around Jasper that come over and see them.
And that's what happened with the biplane. I posted the biplane with the Corvette, and we had people just show up on Sunday within 10 minutes. Yeah, we do have a new Facebook page. We had to move over, so I'm just going to continue to market that.
Ms. Lewis, we're low on tie-down spots. Do we have room in the grass tie-downs that we're starting to do?
Yeah, so I do charge for grass tie-downs. Most of our
Understood.
grass tie-downs right now that are being leased out are maintenance spots. A lot of the
Makes
actual
sense.
pilots don't want to keep their planes there.
Because
but-
there's no tie down.
Yeah, but we
Yeah.
do offer, they have the sets. We don't pay for them, but
You can
it's
bring
$100
balls.
and you can get the three
Mhm.
little
Right.
tie-down sets. But yeah, we do have right now I think 4 tie-down spots in the grass that are paid for on a monthly basis.
So we have any more room around in the hangars? Thinking about what capacity is available. Do we have room to grow in the grass since all the asphalt is done? Or are we full on those too?
We have room in the grass to grow, but not tremendously.
Yeah.
It's not,
Not a lot.
no.
Yeah.
But that's why we're gonna come up with leases, and we'll have a wait list, just like we do for the hangar.
Good, at least it's a good thing.
Yeah,
Thanks.
of course.
Alexis, is your engineer gonna report on the start of the terminal?
I hope so, because I think the other terminal, we're gonna start using their bathrooms first, or the hangar in front of the new hangar that's going up. I asked them if we could use their
The
bathrooms.
grass bathroom.
That's,
So,
the view is spectacular.
It's breezy.
We got the builder actually here with us, so
Yes.
when do you go start building?
All right, anything else for Alexis? All right, all equipment and everything?
Equipment, I wrote that down. That equipment that I did send the email out to the board about, the equipment that I wanted to, ask if the other department wanted it or auction it off. No other department does want it, nobody needed it. I would like to put it up for auction after it gets approved by the commissioners meeting,
Okay.
if that's okay.
Yep.
Okay.
You gonna
well-
do it on auction.gov, is that what you're gonna put down?
We're going through, the,
Gina at the road department
Road
does
department.
their stuff, and she's gonna help assist for us to do, and I can't remember if that's the site, but I
Probably
think it is.
Probably.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. All right, Phil?
All right, we got 6 items here to run through. Terminal site building. We have a meeting tomorrow with Emma Colola, so a placement for a relocated regular out there moves, and so it works with the Kevin Lohner site that's starting, as well as with the new terminal building. And then also in those site utilities is making sure that, so that's power that keeps everybody running through the whole terminal project, including the existing terminal, and then water as well. We're out there tomorrow, we'll talk about that a little bit. So that goes. We're probably 2 weeks or so away from the site starting. They've ordered some, they get about a 3-week lead time on some pipes that they've got. And then once they're going, we have, we've already had the pre-construction conference from a couple weeks ago, so we're all good on those to proceed with that. And then once they're out there, we can define when they'll have that little high spot cut down where the terminal footprint actually sits. And then we've got some things to define related to the terminal building to come back with some additional pricing from Candido to add in there, and then we'll sit down and go through all the budget items and then sign that paperwork. There are items in there on that terminal building that have long lead times, some of the timbers and stuff like that, but that won't count against contract time at all. So, so that's going to start. And we talked to Alexis a little bit, gave a layout of how the terminal in the parking lot, obviously when they're out there doing the site, there'll be a period where we're working in the new paved parking lot, that is where the gravel parking lot is, that we'll need to put people, have a temporary place to park kind of up on the apron, but we're knocking that out. Then we'll have a paved parking lot. Also, the other project in there, which kind of gets lost in all the stuff we're doing, is the airfield lighting project to flip the LEDs. So they've ordered the materials and we're waiting on those to be delivered. So we may have 60 to 90 days left on those materials coming in. When we're doing that project, when they're up close to the runway, we'll have some runway closure time when they have open trenches. But as they get all their materials in and they are ready to go, we will then coordinate with Alexis on it. So there's at least a month advance to all the users of the airport before we have any closure related to the project. Then we have, if you recall from the last meeting, we've got the first phase of our security / perimeter fence. GDOT and FAA have changed terminology, so we'll be last year's CIP, security fence, new CIP, perimeter fence. But it's basically the higher wildline fence that will go around the outside. We will get that funded in multiple phases. This first chunk that we got is about a little under $350,000, which will get us about, we'll see what the bids come in, but will get us about 6,000 feet or so of fence. So there's probably ultimately 3 phases that'll have to do with that. When we get to the horseshoe area, because of what building that's underway and all that, that will kind of, we may wait on some of that until we got buildings there where we can connect the fence in and all that stuff. But this will give you a big chunk of starting toward that, and that'll be a wildlife protection item. there's asked, from DOT FA standpoint, they want us to have 90% plans to them in November, and they want us to go to bid in December. So they're basically ready to write a grant just after the first of the year. So we have our task order for design that we need to approve tonight. The TA, you voted to accept the TA letter and do everything related to the project in the previous meeting. So this is just a formality on that. And then we'll come back. When we have the December meeting, I don't know if we have bid open yet or not. It may be January, but that's kind of the schedule. It arcs out where once you award it, they write the grant. It's probably next summer when we're actually doing that work. And you'll have a chance in there once we open bids, because they're giving us a fixed amount of money. If the bids come in high, we'll do less fence. If the bids come in low, we do more fence. And there'll be a check-in at kind of the exact point where that fence will start and stop after we open bids. So you'll have input in all that. And we'll work with Alexis on that as well, in kind of the wildlife, observations that you have out there. We were out there a few weeks ago and saw some
Deer.
four-legged wildlife. This will keep out the two-legged wildlife too. So we need a authority to approve Don signing that task force.
Make a move that he authorize the sign.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Next one is 3-year DBE, which is Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Plan. That's a plan that FA requires. Every project that we get that has more than $250,000 of FA funding in it, they require a certain percentage of each of those projects to be broken off and given to a disadvantaged business enterprise firm, which is a minority or female-owned firm, which is on an FA-approved list. Typically, it depends on the type of project. Typically, those would be like 7 to 12% when we get those heftier projects. And they require you to do a 3-year DBE plan every 3 years. It identifies the anticipated projects coming up that would have that kind of FA funding, and a percent is established for each type of project. Then when you get to the project, that percent is plugged in. That makes you eligible for FA funding. So it's something that you do every 3 years. You're just up for the 3-year plan again. That plan is done. It's through us, but it is given to a DBE firm who does a DBE plan. So we need approval to do the updated 3-year DB plan and have Don sign that.
I move we have a motion to do that.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And the last thing we have is the 5-year capital improvement plan. And because of the cycle of our meetings, effectively, there will be this approval that we'll do, and what we talk about now is going to be contingent on GDOT accepting the plan. So if there's anything they want to see tweaked, that tweak will be made. So anything we approve is contingent on that. 5-year capital improvement plan, something all 5,000 public use airports in the U.S. are required to do for FAA. And it's got a set form. You all have seen it before. FAA requires this to be turned in. It has columns in it that have FAA funding, state funding, local funding. It's basically for FAA. So something that you're doing, like if you were buying a tractor or something, like they don't care. That's not on here. It's just kind of tells what that demand of funding. It also tells you what projects you're going to do, and they want to see those projects prioritized in kind of a safety first, then capacity. Last is like revenue generation. We also have a reference this year in particular is as a block grant state in Georgia from the state, runway extensions they don't want to see on there. They're really lowering the priority on that. So you'll see on ours how that's kind of stayed kind of in the back. So Whitney is going to hand out a last year's CIP and then a version that we'll use to talk about for this year.
When is that one,
And we'll get,
November?
it's actually, they moved it up a month, so it's due November 10th.
Yeah, okay.
But the due is what we do every year. So that ultimately this thing gets loaded in a software that the state has. That the software is called Black Cat, which is a little bit ominous, but we load all this in for all of our clients in Black Cat. So we do that for you. I will talk real quick about the format for this. You will see in the one that says November 22 in the upper right-hand corner. Alexis and Stacy. In the upper left corner, it says November 2022, which was last November when we did this. If you look over in the left-hand column and you see the 5 years, the first year says 24. So in November 22, this gets submitted. It's for consideration of the next federal fiscal year. The next federal fiscal year is October 1st. So when it goes in November, it's for FY24. So it looks like FY23 is invisible in here. It's just because of the way the fiscal years fall. So last year you had focus on doing the security fencing, then working into runway extension, then creating more hangar area. As the horseshoe begins to fill up, you have to be thinking ahead of how to create that space. And then in the last couple of years you had on their property acquisition to show FAA that you're willing to do that if they came back and made you do that. So the draft that's got the highlighted yellow at the top, I'll walk through that thing real quick compared to last year. Essentially, you got funded for security fencing phase 1 or perimeter fencing phase 1, so that comes off. So in the first year, you have perimeter fencing phase 2, which because of wildlife, they see as a safety item. And then you also have existing terminal area apron rehab, which is effectively as you do the apron expansion you've done, you do the terminal site, you start working on the terminal building. When you're done, the old terminal site will need, from a kind of a safety standpoint, that will.
I know they stated that.
Yeah.
It may take
Did
care
you
of
guys hear a
itself.
laugh? Did you guys hear a laugh? That'll have to be, not have to be, already there's a plan from long ago that once that's cleaned up and out of there, then you can extend the apron slightly back, so when you're getting fuel, you can kind of pull off. It'll help circulation a little bit, and that'll connect into the ramp expansion you already did. So that's effectively a second project that's asked for in the first year. These projects, when you put in the applications, you are requesting. There is no guarantee that you get any funding. You've been very, very successful. The terminal site, for example, you do a really good job of positioning yourself and being there so that as money falls out, you can take advantage of it. That terminal site was, that was essentially $1 million that we got just by leverage and knowledge of the system. So that's what we propose to put in the first year. Second year, you continue on with the perimeter fence phase 3. And then the south terminal apron rehab is that project that of all the apron area, the one area that's left that's not been repaved, basically, that comes in there. It's after the terminal area because you've got safety issues with the terminal area. As you get into the third year, hangar area site preparation and paving, that was essentially in the area behind the box hangars you built, in there to come in and kind of do some site work and paving and all that if you want to continue to go, or at least prepare that area. And then that's been on here a while. You've got runway extension environmental assessment that's at 500 feet. Very well could be displaced 500 feet when you do it. And then the fourth year is the actual construction of that project. And then south hangar apron expansion is as you fill up capacity, the place where you will go is as you work your way south from the terminal, you get to the end of the hangars, there's a retention pond there, and it's kind of looking at repurposing that area and clawing back some of that capacity. And then you'll continue to look for more and more ways to have people, if they come to the airport and they're going to have a significant economic impact, you want to be able to tell them, yes, you have a place for them. So that's all in there. And then when you get to the last year, again, there's two property acquisition items that are on there as kind of placeholders. So if FAA comes in and says, we want you to do something, you'll have the eligibility of it by having it on here. So this is more just evolutionary of what you've done, and going back several years ago, and it was probably 4 years ago, we did a real thorough CIP stuff to kind of arc out this stuff with the terminal and all that. This is an evolution. Again, the idea of this is there is significant amount of paperwork that goes with the projects in the first year. There's a narrative that's convincing them to fund the project. There's engineer's estimate, there's a sketch, there's an application to fill out, there's all that stuff. We do all that, take care of you. And then it all has to be hand entered into that black gas system. We take care of all that, culminating in us contacting Don and say, can you log in there and hit the button that submits it? Again, anything that we approve is all contingent on DOT's acceptance of the project. If they want to see a change in priorities or something, then we make that change. And that's basically the kind of recommendation on CIP stuff. And we can answer any questions or anything that you would like to get feedback on this.
Sound like you've been very thorough with it.
It's really good, it's real well-rounded and has been always, and that's really helpful in the leveraging for the funding, because they can see that you're paying attention to, adding capacity while also taking care of safety items. Even the wildlife fencing is an improvement. It's all safety related. So if there's no questions, then we'll need a vote to move forward with this contingent on the DOT approval.
Certainly, he's worked a lot with Alexis and a little bit with me in those conversations. And as y'all know, last year we shifted things around with what the county was going through with their general fund, knowing that we were limited in matching and what we could do immediately. So that reflects what we did. So, but I think we're in good shape with where we are.
This has been a long time.
So really, we need a motion to authorize me to submit that once.
To approve this,
Yeah.
this 5-year CIP. Also, this is a living document, so if we get to January and a sinkhole opens up on the runway, we will send in new information. But this is that right? Yeah. Who's kicking my chair? But so did you have flexibility, but you just methodically, you've done all the right things. You did apron expansion, you did.
You get that call in the middle of the night and say, you don't believe what just happened.
Yeah, right, but we're prepared.
Yes.
Yeah, so we need to, so you need to make need to approve the submittal of this as your 5-year CIP and then authorize Don to submit.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
May I ask Mr. Phil a question?
Yes.
Speaking of expansion and hangar space and so on, I'd heard a few years ago that the property at the very southwest corner of the airport, which has about, maybe 10 acres along the taxiway, has there been any motion to sell or claim or otherwise that and convert it into possible hangar space along the taxiway?
Yeah, so one of the things, when you look at long-term capacity airport, you are positioned by literally a project that you have in the 5th year. Should something open up and that becomes available or something like that, your ability to react to it will be that you have a placeholder in here in case something happens. But ultimately, when you look at places, there's potential for a spot down there, but it'll all have to work out in the,
Nothing's really happening yet in that area? No talk, no?
We have a lot going on.
Well, knowing that
you're
tight
not
on space.
But you essentially have a 5-year capital improvement plan that literally has, you can't build anything on there unless you owned it, so you have literally a placeholder on here. So if an opportunity came up, instead of waiting till the next November CIP, you've got, and that's part of, some of the things you're methodically doing, some of the things you're positioning to take advantage of opportunities as they come up. And so that's kind of what this is, kind of takes all that into consideration.
Cool, thank you.
All right. Anything else for Phil? Thank you, Phil. Any old business that we need to cover under for the authority? New business? 3 things I wanted to mention. Kevin, Alexis, myself, and Max got to participate in a groundbreaking Friday for Kevin Lohner's hangar that's by the terminal out on the west taxiway. So if you've been out there, you've seen the heavy equipment that they've started. I don't know if the heavy equipment's moving,
No, it is not, they have not
But
been
it's
getting grounders.
out there. They wouldn't let me drive the heavy equipment, I did ask.
Cause they're like,
did that.
where's the permit? So I was like, there's nothing there.
But they are getting started. They did mention that, that they thought, based off of the steel coming in, the door coming in, they originally thought the door would be the real thing that would hold them up, but they thought they would be done by December. So they're optimistic, done by December.
What size hangers got could it be?
It's 100 by 120.
It's about, well, they've got kind of an office with
Yeah.
it, so it's like, kind of like 100 by 80, kind of.
Yeah.
But then from the
With
air,
it.
it's gonna look like it's about like 100 by 100, 100 by 120.
Yeah.
It actually faces an apron, but opens out to the taxiway in that horseshoe.
Yeah.
It's gonna be nice.
Yeah.
It's nice as our turn.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's gonna be the second nicest thing
Yeah,
for.
and Alexis is already making offers to use their bathrooms until ours gets done, so.
And Mr. Loner said for a price, a good,
For a price,
a good businessman said everything for a price.
Yeah, yeah.
What about the
Max
pilot?
set it up where he would get a price coming in,
Sell
a price
pilots.
for use, but the exit was free.
Free,
right?
right.
What about the pilots?
I guess you have to make your own deal, so. But anyway.
Bathrooms will be the first things built in the terminal building, won't they?
Did just, real quick, wanna, make the rest of the authority, aware of a meeting that we had, Monday. Chris and I did with a few members of the city, and we met to talk about the sewer around, the horseshoe, the west taxiway. And met for several reasons about it, and part of it is and to activate that lift station to go live was the county has to sign that over to the city, and Chris is ready to do that. Of course, there's still a little bit of debt on that. Chris is hoping that may even be retired by the end of the year, but that assignment can even be made through a lease prior to that debt being retired. And so, learned a lot that even Phil and I didn't realize in terms of the manholes and where the sewer was actually available on both sides of that taxiway. One of the things I did want to tell y'all, because it may be something that presents challenges to us. There was one of the city council members there, and there was a request from that city council member to explore and try to clear up what was in the city and what wasn't in the city in terms of the airport, and explore on why in the past some of it was de-annexed and et cetera. And even a request to perhaps annex all of it. Even though we still have 3 bonds that have to be serviced from this airport. In a way, some of that was not all of what I thought we were going to be talking about. So there may be situations where we have to talk about de-annexing all of it and figuring out how to provide sewer ourselves for that horseshoe. So just want to make y'all aware of, and I've talked to Phil about that, and Chris is aware of the need that we need to be able to have all of our options on the table as we have these
So we're being
discussions.
pressured to,
No, it was just opened up discussions, and we may have, and when I say all of our options, it very well may be that we talk to the city about a special tax district where even if it was annexed, all the ad valorem could come back to the airport, which is what should happen. Even if ad valorem was going to the city, that ad valorem should come back to the airport until every bit of that debt is retired.
exactly.
Okay, and that was what I think I made myself clear at the meeting. Okay, because there are 3 very large bonds out there, the Development Authority and the county are both responsible for, and the airport authority are responsible
They
for.
may want the airport, but I bet they don't want the debt.
Yeah, so,
Be
So,
careful, be careful
I
what you
just-
ask for, and you might get it.
That's right.
so, you know, there's anything from annexing everything, and they just get ad valorem with nothing, no contingencies to it, to a special tax district, that ad valorem comes back until everything is.
What's kind of
Well, but
standing
if
is,
that-
is nobody, they don't know exactly what part of that's in the city.
There's always been a question
Yes.
on,
Yes.
there is, depending on what tax map you look at, on what state site, you get different answers. And I fully understand that. There's confusion no matter where you look. And we all agree that there's confusion.
That has existed for a long time.
Yeah, that's existed a long time. You know, the city council member said this isn't an effort for a tax grab, even though it sounded like a tax grab. But the mayor very much, I do believe, does not look at this. He even said in the meeting, well, let's set up a special tax district and the revenue goes to the airport. Okay.
Then there's
Now,
no benefit to
there's-
annexing. So
And I've said this, and I feel like the mayor very much thinks this too, is, you know, these bonds, there's maybe a Lexus, the rest of us in this room, we're not gonna see the real revenue benefit of these three bonds, right? Because once they're paid out, that's when this county and this airport sees the revenue benefit of
great.
this. Right?
That's great.
The city and the county both could see benefits of that.
But we
once
got a
this-
lot of debt
But,
service right now.
yeah, but we got a lot of debt service right now. In 15 years,
He said, oh, y'all gonna be gone.
yeah, we'll all be
Alexis will
gone.
here.
Alexis will
Only
be
the
here,
villages.
and she'll have grandchildren, and be out there playing on the playground that she helped get grants for,
Yes, I really want to play.
with her grandchildren. But
That would be great.
there will be some great revenue coming
At some point.
at some point. And there will be revenue that can talk about being divided
Sure, sure.
at that point.
Well, once
And-
everything's above
And
water.
I don't mind sitting down and talking about what some structure looks like of dividing that revenue at that point. But right now, it has to service the debt.
It's got to serve
But
that.
remember, your
And-
mayor's in poor health as well.
Yeah, well, he's strong enough to stand on his own.
Yeah, but he's running for,
He's not running.
mayor.
He's
He's not running,
He's
so
not running.
So
yeah.
you.
So then-
Yeah.
And, Phil fully understands that we could go in there and de-annex and figure out the sewer on our own. And, but, look, even the city council member, and we've worked together on enough. We're not butting heads. We don't beat each other. I mean, we may fight against each other some, but we don't. We're in the same community.
Right.
And what the city benefits, the county benefits, and vice versa. So we're all in this community together. And the city wins, the county wins, and if the county wins, the city wins. And that's what we've all got to continue to remember. So I firmly believe that. So,
That's where you get loyal opposition. You're each other's loyal opposition, and the combination is an improvement.
and
Did y'all discuss the debt service at all, or did you leave it?
no, it was a first time high level discussion, and nothing was,
Gotcha.
nobody left mad, nobody, left and just, but it was enough of a discussion, I wasn't gonna walk in here and not tell y'all about it, okay? So. That's all I had.
Isn't that enough?
I thought so. Oh, I said three things.
You said
I
three.
did say
I've
three
got two
things.
now.
You were
I'm
counting.
not
weren't you?
counting. Max is here.
last thing I had is I did want to point out that Max did not meet dress code tonight. Max, please don't wear a shirt like that for this meeting.
Ew.
That's the last thing I had.
Oh,
Is there a motion
He's
to
been hearing that
adjourn?
off for the past 3 months.
All right, thank y'all for coming.
He hadn't changed the last 3 months.
He really